statistical, mathematical fact
never has been down.
has broken every single record. There is no asset that has come close.
It's the only thing in the industry that was not touched, that was not hacked, and it never fails doing what it promised in 2009. It's never
What's
failed.
the best performing asset the world has ever seen? And you'll find out that it's Bitcoin.
Welcome once again, traders. Welcome, Bitcoiners. Welcome, followers. Welcome, supporters. Welcome, haters. Welcome, all of you. Welcome, all of you. It's good to be back. Good to be here doing another Twitter or X live spaces with you. I've missed you. I hope you have been enjoying some of the tweets, some of the comments, some of the replies. I try to keep them informative as well as a bit comical as best I possibly can. But anyway, I want to thank you for taking out a little bit of time in your busy schedules here to just pop on with me live. I want to discuss today two broad topics, which is Bitcoin price. I've gotten quite a few questions recently regarding Bitcoin's price, and I'm not specifically talking about Bitcoin's price action, like the action we've seen today, but price as a general concept. And I think this will prove valuable for us to delve a bit into that concept. And also time, all right? And time is a discussion I want to take up, which is more closely associated with two things. The fact that Bitcoin is time. It's actually become the truest form of time. We'll discuss that a tiny bit. And also, we'll take that discussion a little bit to the area of timing as well. So time is a general concept and timing as well. As we all know that Bitcoin operates on a 4-year cycle that tends to miraculously repeat many of the aspects of the cycle the same way, around the same time, over and over again. And while history, traders, Bitcoiners, is no guarantee that it will continue, but it's the only thing we have to judge the probability of something continuing. And I'm going to touch upon that as well. Now, for those of you who are experiencing one of my live sessions for the first time, I do want to quickly let you know how I conduct these. I rarely, if ever, have you turn on your mic and you speak and ask questions or anything like that. I have found that to be less productive, at least for me. So I will basically just do a monologue and I will take your questions as you pose them in this live session. Okay. But I do want to get through the general monologue and the overall theme of the live session. And hopefully that spurs some critical thinking. And I hope it spurs some intelligent questions that come from the discussion. Anyway, guys, let's talk about price a bit. And I'm sure some of you are pleased with the brief pop we've gotten in Bitcoin's price activity today. But one of the questions I received today was, Oliver, or last night, I believe, Oliver, why is it that we can have massive buying of Bitcoin, which is evidenced by 64,000 Bitcoin last month being bought and moved off of exchanges? Now, it's probably not all 64,000 was bought, but obviously they were bought at some time in the recent past. And so 64,000 total Bitcoin was removed off of all centralized exchanges last month and moved into cold storage. And this is extraordinarily important because we have moved into what I consider to be the second phase of Bitcoin's life. The first phase of Bitcoin's life was a phase of rising supply. So if you look at the first, I would say the first 10 years of Bitcoin's existence, its entire 10-year period, it became the best performing asset on the planet with rising supply on centralized exchanges. So every single year, the amount of Bitcoin that was taken out of cold storage and put on centralized exchanges to be sold was hitting all-time new highs every single year, every single cycle. Now, this is very important to understand, guys. Listen to me carefully. For Bitcoin's first decade, it rose more than anything the world has ever seen. For 10 years, it became the best performing asset the world has ever known. For over a 10-year period, it catapulted itself out of thousands of assets. It became the 13th most valuable asset on the planet. In a 10-year period, it rose, catapulting itself out of a list of 200 global currencies, became the 20th most valuable currency on the planet. It has broken the 1-day record for gains, the 1-month record for gains, the 3-month record for gains, the 1-year record for gains, the 3-year record for gains, the 5-year record for gains, and the 10-year record for gains. It has destroyed everything the world has ever known in the financial arena, in the financial space. And it did all of this with rising supply. It was so potent. It was so powerful. It was so relentless. It blasted through rising supply. Now, there is only one reason that massive amounts of Bitcoin would be taken out of cold storage to be placed on centralized exchanges. I'm not saying it's the only reason. I'm saying that their major reason for doing that, the major reason that I would do it, the major reason that you would take it out of cold storage to put it on Coinbase or to put it on Binance or to put it on Kraken, the only reason, the main reason, not the only reason I should say, the main reason is to sell it. And so despite massive selling, despite massive unlocking of cold storage to put on exchanges, despite the supply of Bitcoin going on centralized exchanges to be sold, hitting new highs every year, every quarter, Bitcoin blasts through that to become the best performing asset on the planet. Now, something dramatically changed in the year 2020. A new light bulb went on. A new switch was flipped. Something suddenly changed, and it kicked off the second decade of Bitcoin's life. This is almost to the day, guys. This is how miraculous this is. Almost to the day that Bitcoin ends its first decade and moves into the second decade, 2020. 2020 starts the opposite era, or what I would call phase 2 of Bitcoin's life, of declining supply on centralized exchanges. Listen to me carefully. We have only experienced declining supply on exchanges, meaning the reverse. People pulling their Bitcoin off of Coinbases, off of Krakens, off of Binances, pulling their Bitcoin off of the centralized exchanges and locking it away in cold storage. Now, there is only one main reason you would do that. You have no intentions of letting this asset go or selling it anytime soon, because if you did, you need to sell it on a centralized exchange. You would have it sitting on the centralized exchange. So in 2020, something miraculous changed with Bitcoin to kick off its second phase, which is a perpetual decline, a continuous decline of supply being ripped away from exchanges and locked away into cold storage. In conjunction with this, we have gone to new high HODL rates. For the first time ever, 70+% of the entire supply of Bitcoin, 19.3 million Bitcoin. The 70% of 19.3 million Bitcoin, there will only ever be 21 million, but 19.3 million Bitcoin have already been mined and is held somewhere by someone, dead or alive. 70+% of the entire network hasn't moved in an entire year. These people are either dead or they don't give a hoot about a bear market. Either these 70% are Rip Van Winkle sleepers and haven't woken up in a few years. Maybe they're dead, maybe they're asleep, or maybe the majority of these people are finally starting to understand that this is not an asset that you use to buy a cheeseburger with. This is not an asset that you use to that you let go because it's so scarce, it's so rare that I may never be able to get it back, not at this price maybe. And so more and more of the world is understanding. More and more of the world's big money is understanding. More of the world's like you and I are starting to understand this is something I hodl. This is something I hold. And I don't get freaked out by the moves to the downside in Bitcoin. I use the moves to the downside in Bitcoin to raise my wealth profile in the next cycle. So I am willing to use these 70% that are holding Bitcoin through the longest bear market in Bitcoin's history. They are using this to be better off the next cycle because we have enough of a history with Bitcoin to know that the down year that Bitcoin experiences every cycle is nothing more than an opportunity to get more. We have had 14 years of staring this in the face, having this reality remind us that this is the way. 3 years up, 1 year down, 3 years up, 1 year down. And there are still idiots out in the world that despite a 14-year repetitive cycle over and over again in their faces, despite 14 years of never failing, despite 14 years of repeating the same picture over and over again. You got some idiots to say that's not enough. I need 100 years when I'm long dead and gone. Then I will act, Oliver. Then I will believe. I need 14 more years. I need to see this 50 times. They would rather place more faith in an imaginary scenario that's never happened than trust something that has happened 14 years over and over again. So instead of looking at the reality that actually happened, looking at the cycle that actually repeats itself, they would rather believe in an imagined cycle that has never happened before. And they place more weight and more importance on the imagination they created in their mind of Bitcoin going to 4,000 than the cycle of 1 year down, 3 years up. We freaking had the 1 year down, guys. We are now in the 3 year up part of the cycle. And I'm constantly still getting people to say, but Oliver, how are you sure? What do you mean? How am I sure? It's fucking in your face over and over and over again. It's the only thing that Bitcoin has ever done. 3 years up, 1 year down, 3 years up, 1 year down. What am I supposed to believe in? Something that didn't happen ever? Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. Oliver, well, how do you know this is going to happen? Well, I can't really say I know, but the only thing we have is history. That's the only thing human beings have to come up with probabilities. And I'm here to tell you that because this has never failed, because Bitcoin has been doing this for more than 10 years, I'm going to bet that way versus something on something that has never happened in Bitcoin's reality, that has never happened in the reality of the world. I find that too many people are really using their imaginations to camouflage their fear of acting. So I call them the butt team, right? The butt team. Like, but Oliver, I'm like, okay, every single cycle, it's 3 years up, 1 year down. We use the down to get more to profit from the 3 years up. But Oliver, what about a recession? But Oliver, what about rising interest rates? Bitcoin's never gone through a period of rising interest rates. But what about all the fraud in the system, Oliver? What about the FTX collapses? What about the Celsius collapses? What about the futures manipulating the Bitcoin price? But this, but that, but guys, I'm telling you, if you don't get your butt out of the way, you're going to miss the biggest innovation human beings have ever been alive to experience. That is my opinion. You're going to miss one of the greatest wealth opportunities, and your family is going to fault you for it for generation after generation after generation. You are going to be blamed because you are the one alive right now. You are the one with this in front of your face every single year, every single cycle, and you still won't get it. You still won't look. You still want to focus on BS like, well, this chain can buy a hot dog 0.003 seconds faster than Bitcoin can buy a hot dog. Are you freaking kidding me? You can't be that low IQ, can you? We're talking about transaction speeds versus freedom, freedom from financial debasement, freedom from silent theft through inflation, freedom by having a money that you work for that's no longer controlled by another man that can do anything with the money he wants, but you can't. We're talking about financial freedom, and you're talking about buying pizzas and freaking hot dogs faster. Really? You're talking about JPEG monkeys and how something that can produce a JPEG monkey is the thing, the real innovation. I don't have time for that level. Like that level of IQ, I'm not here for that. I am here for the people who are willing to just look. I am here for the people who are willing to keep an open mind. I'm not telling you to become orange pill right away. I just want you to look. I just want to try. Let's see if you can see what I finally saw. Let's see if you can have that epiphany that I finally had with Bitcoin. Because I was a naysayer too. Most people were. But something happened. Something clicked. And so we have I'm going to see if I can get this image up. I know I posted it, but I want to get it up on the. I had a question asked to me about how is it, Oliver? I'm sorry for the long tirade, by the way, but I get passionate about these things. That's just me. How is it that 64,000 Bitcoin can be bought and removed, but the price stays at like the same price? Wouldn't that cause price upward pressure if all of this accumulation is going on? No, not necessarily. And so this is one of the things I wanted to explain to you. And I always have to take a step back and remind myself that here on X, formerly known as Twitter, I am not necessarily talking to experienced traders. You see, I've spent my whole career as 4 decades as an experienced trader. My echo chamber is largely of, dealing with and talking to and trading with experienced traders all the time. And so here I have to keep reminding myself, these are not necessarily financial people. These people are not in the markets professionally. They don't understand how markets operate and deal behind the scenes. So with that, I take a deep breath and I say, okay, let me try to explain. So let me try to explain this. First of all, a lot of people fail to understand one simple thing about markets, that every buy is also a sell. Think about this. Every time BlackRock buys, somebody had to sell, right? So buying and selling cannot be not equal. Think about this, my Bitcoiners. You can't ever have more buying than selling. And I hear that here all the time. I hear that stupid statement more here than anyone else. And sometimes I just have to shake my head. What are you talking about? There is no such thing as more buying than selling. How? In order for you to buy Bitcoin, someone has to be willing to sell Bitcoin. In order to sell Bitcoin, someone has to be willing to buy Bitcoin. So buying and selling is always equal. Always. It is impossible for it not to be equal. And so where does the price movement come from? It comes from the removal of the supply at a certain price level. So imagine this. Imagine that there are 15,000 full Bitcoin available at $26,000 for sale. Now, that 15,000 Bitcoin, more people can join in too. So the longer it stays at 26, maybe the 15,000 for sale becomes 16,000. And the longer it stays at 16, maybe more people get nervous. And now the 16,000 Bitcoin become 18,000 Bitcoin. So the number can change, but there's usually some amount of Bitcoin for sale at every key price level, right? Now, if I were to come in and I were to gradually take some of the 15,000 Bitcoin for sale at 26,000. And other people are taking it too. Now we're dwindling the 15,000 Bitcoin down to 4,000 Bitcoin. Now it's dwindling to 2. No one's coming in to add more for sale at 26. Now we're down to the last 1,000 Bitcoin for sale at 26. I decide I'm going to take the whole 1,000 Bitcoin for sale at 26. Boom. Now there's zero amount for sale at 26. I have cleaned out 26. But I still want more. So where is the next level up that there's some sitting there for sale? And I might have to go up to 26,100. And if there's nothing there, I might have to go higher and higher. Oh, there's starting to be some for sale at 26,300. So Bitcoin rockets from 26 to 26,300 because there's a vacuum of supply between 26 and 26,300 that the 26,000 supply was eaten through. All right. That's how upward price is moved. But understand that every buy is also a sell. You can't have an imbalance in that equation, that equilibrium. It's always equal. It's all about supply. So when you see supply being removed off exchanges, 64,000 Bitcoin removed off exchanges, you do know that that is going to eventually lead to a price or a supply crisis, a supply crunch. It is being removed from the sale equation. When Bitcoin goes back on exchanges, it's being added to the sell side of the equation. When you remove Bitcoin from centralized exchanges, you are giving more power to the buy side of the equation because there is less supply that is going to be available for sale at future prices. Okay? And so it's always about supply versus demand. And this is why the halving has such a dramatic effect, that the supply that gets leaked out of Bitcoin's faucet every 10 minutes gets cut in half. So today, 6.25 new Bitcoin gets added to the above ground, for lack of a better phrase, the above ground, I'm using a gold analogy, it gets added to the stock. It gets added to the above ground or the mined Bitcoin. So 19.3 million Bitcoin are mined, but every 10 minutes, more or less, 6.25 new Bitcoin are mined. So that's not an inflation rate, by the way, that's an issuance rate. You can only have inflation when you don't know the ultimate number of the supply. And for the first time in the history of human mankind, we have an asset where we know absolutely with absolute certainty what the total supply of the item is. So when you know the total supply of an item, it becomes issuance. It is not inflation. Inflation is when there is no cap on the supply, and it's a perpetual faucet that will never stop spitting out new supply. When you close the faucet, you're now doing issuance. A lot of people fail to understand that distinction as well. All right. Bitcoin does not have an inflation rate. Let's stop saying that silly nonsense and let's call it what it is. It's an issuance rate. And I'll give you a very quick example of issuance versus supply versus inflation. So if I always use this analogy, if I opened up a rare sneaker shop, I'm a sneakerhead, right? I open up this rare sneaker shop and I have 21 pairs of the rarest Air Jordan sneakers out there in the world. 21 pairs. These are the 21 rarest Michael Jordan Air Jordan sneakers out there. I've only got 21. So someone comes in and buys. So I'm selling about 2 pairs every month. That is not an inflation rate. That is an issuance rate. I am issuing out of my supply of 21 pairs, 2 pairs. If I have sold 19 of the 21 pairs, I have not inflated my supply. The supply before I even started selling was 21 pairs. The supply is still 21 pairs, even though I've sold 19. Inflation is when you affect the total supply. Issuance is when you issue a capped supply. So let's stop using the term inflation. All right. Inflation would be, I've got 21 rare shoes, rare pairs of Air Jordans. And now I have 24 pairs of rare Jordans. That's inflation. All right. The other is issuance. Now, the reason why the halving always has a material effect on price is because it removes supply. So if you already have people removing coins off of centralized exchanges at an historical rate and putting it in cold storage, and you also limit or cut in half the amount of new Bitcoin that comes into the world, you add to this removal of supply dynamic. Now, anytime you remove supply, you are giving more power to the buy side. Please understand that. When you add supply, you are giving more power to the sell side. So the removal of Bitcoin off exchanges gives power to the buy side. The cutting of the issuance rate in half every 4 years gives more power to the buy side. So a smaller amount of buying creates a more exponential rise in price. All right. Now, here is something I think is also important to understand. It takes time for the removal of supply to work through the whole network, to work through the whole system, to work through an entire economy. It doesn't happen on a dime. So if 1 month, 64,000 Bitcoin get removed from centralized exchanges, you'll see the effect of that 6 to 8 months later. This is how markets operate. It takes time for that to work through the whole system. And I'm telling you, from 4 decades of doing this, every market's the same. You're looking at 6 to 8 month effect later. That's not only in Bitcoin, that's everything. So when the Fed raises interest rates, the effect of that interest rate hike 6 to 8 months later starts to be felt. It's not felt at the time that the Fed raises interest rates. All right. Nothing is felt right away when you're dealing with something massive like this. Okay. It takes 6 to 8 months to start seeing the effect of something. So the halving will not, I am telling you, the halving in April, late April, early May of 2024 will not have an immediate material effect on the price. We will still have 6 to 8 months before, in my opinion, an oh my goodness, face melting, I can't believe it, Oliver was right move. And so that's very important to understand. This 64,000 Bitcoin being removed from centralized exchanges, that's 6 to 8 months later. And that perfectly coincides with the halving, by the way. So these are important things to understand. The last thing I do want to cover as it relates to price, and then we'll move to time here. The last thing I want to cover with price is how price can be manipulated. All right, price can be manipulated. And this is largely what is done in the shitcoin world, the altcoin world. All right. Price is largely controlled and manipulated in that world. And it saddens me that so many people who have no understanding of this game, they have no understanding that what is going on there is the same thing that goes on in your BS penny stock world, right? And I've been in this game for 4 decades. I know this game. I not only know this game, I played this game. I was a NASDAQ market maker for years back in the mid to early 1990s. I played the game I am about to explain to you. And I want you to be able to know, I want you to know this game. It is a price control game. Now, in order to control the price of anything in the financial markets, a cryptocurrency, and let's stay with that because that's the theme here, cryptocurrency, an alternative cryptocurrency outside of Bitcoin. You need 2 things. You need market makers that you hire. So you need to hire some of the best market makers out there. That's what I was on the NASDAQ. I was a NASDAQ market maker. The fiduciary responsibility of a market maker is to largely provide liquidity to the market, which is meaning to support price. So support price can be also looked at as largely taking the other side of the retail public. So a market maker's fiduciary responsibility is to be the other side of the crowd. So if the crowd is dumping, the market maker's fiduciary responsibility is to be the buy side of that equation to maintain some equilibrium. So if 8 people are selling and only 2 are buying, you're going to have downside pressure. And so the market maker's job is to go fill 8 spots so that we can make it equal again, 10 sellers and 10 buyers. So the market maker's fiduciary responsibility is to take the other side of the crowd, to be the liquidity where it is most needed. That is the general fiduciary responsibility of market makers. Now, how are market makers used in the cryptocurrency market? And they make a lot of money, guys. They're making millions of dollars a day. All right. These market making firms. And listen, I am not talking from lack of experience. And not only do I have experience being a market maker, I know people who actually own these cryptocurrency market making firms. I sit down and smoke cigars with them all the time. Anyway, I digress. So what are these cryptocurrency market makers paid to do? To defend a cryptocurrency's price. So let's say, for instance, that the leaders of a cryptocurrency, they have leveraged their BS. They've found some financial institutions that's willing to allow them to leverage. They found a Binance or whatever that's allowed them to leverage their crypto coin. But their liquidation point, for instance, is at something like, let's say their liquidation point is at $200 a coin. So they can't let their coin drop below 200. Otherwise, the loan they got using their own cryptocurrency as collateral to do other things with, to buy a yacht or live life lavishly or to do something else with whatever their dreams are, whatever they're going to lose, they're going to be liquidated out if it drops below 200. So they will hire a market making firm to defend 200. And so this is where you get bounces anywhere near 200 because the market maker is defending the price. And the way they do it is that they come in and they just defend 20. They've got enough money to anybody who wants to sell. They will just take the sell and not lower their bid. They will stick the bid at 205. They're not going to let it drop below 200. They're going to stick the bid at 203, 204, 205. You want to sell? I take it. The market maker takes it. You want to sell some more? The market maker takes it. You want to sell some more? The market maker builds up his coffers, all right, and eventually exhausts the sellers at around 203, 204, 205, defending the price of 200. As the retail public sees that 200 area is support, it starts to turn again. Some of the people who believe in this crypto nonsense, they will start to buy around 203, 204. It has got support. The sellers get exhausted. Then what typically happens is that you leak a story. So once the market maker is filled to the brim with merchandise because they've defended the price, they actually have contractual agreements with news outlets that they pay, the market makers pay the news outlets to come out with a positive story when they are absolutely filled to the brim with merchandise for after defending a price. And so all of a sudden, you'll see this outlet writing a positive article about it, this one, and it all happens in a short period of time. This brings in retail, the price starts moving up. And as the price starts to pump and move up, as a result of these stories, as a result of it looking like the price has gained some stability, which is false stability by some secret buyer called the market maker that's been paid by the cryptocurrency firm millions of dollars per month. All right. They start shelling out the supply they took from the market to defend the price, and they start letting it out to the demand that comes in. Boom. They become the sellers. Remember, the market maker's fiduciary responsibility is to take the other side of the crowd. If the majority of the crowd's selling, they defend the bid. If the majority of the crowd comes back to buying, they flip to the offer side and they become the offer. They become the sellers, the incremental seller as it goes up. And this goes on and on and on and on and on. And these cryptocurrencies, they have top market makers that are making millions of dollars a month defending a price. It is how they create a rising price over time. So what they'll do is they'll sit down with the market maker and map out a plan and say, look, we need this coin to outpace the performance of Bitcoin. Otherwise, we're not going to get any traction. So we need to map out a plan where the price that you defend is always X percentage higher every single month, so that we know that Bitcoin's performance will not be X number a month. All right. So if we can keep the price we defend every single month higher by this percentage, we can create a chart that appears like it's straight up and to the right, and it's greatly outperforming Bitcoin. All right. You got it. This is your pay for doing that. So then the plan goes into play. And the market maker has a mapped out roadmap of every price every month to defend, to create a rising chart for all of you bozos to eventually look at and say, wow, look at this wealth building opportunity. Look at this chart straight up and to the right. You're being played like a freaking fiddle. Now, so market makers make up one part of the equation of manipulating price. The second part of the equation is wash trading. Now, a market maker is not a wash trader. And let me explain what a wash trader is. A market maker is a defender of price. Wash trading happens to create volume. So get this straight. Market makers defend price. Wash trading increases volume. And the way you do this is that you set up a whole bunch of different organizations in different jurisdictions. So you set up an entity, a trading entity in the Bahamas. You set up a trading entity in South Korea. You set up a trading entity in Japan. You set up a trading entity in the United States. And you try your very best to make these entities have no connection to each other whatsoever, but there's one funding source. They're all the same organization. They appear on paper to be different organizations, but they're the same organizations. They're the same organization that just has these dummy firms that look like they're independent. Now, they're all funded. And so what they're supposed to do now is they're supposed to wash trade between each other. And so one of these entities buys and sells to the other entity. The other entity buys from that entity and sells to another entity. They're all the same person or all the same organization. It's like, I'm going to move money from my right pocket to my left pocket. Now I'm going to move money from my left pocket back to my right pocket. Now I'm going to move money from my right pocket to my back right pocket. Now I'm going to move it from my back right pocket to my left back right pocket. Then I'm going to take it from my left back pocket and move it back to my left front pocket. Then I'm going to take it from my left front pocket and move it to my right front pocket. It's still all my pockets. Now, what does this accomplish? It accomplishes the illusion that there's activity on the chain. It accomplishes the illusion that there's great interest in what is going on with the cryptocurrency. And so volume's rising, prices rising. Meanwhile, 90% of all the volume is bullshit volume from wash trading between each other's, the same pants, just 4 different pockets in the same pants. And you've got your market makers defending a price 10% or 12% higher every single month to create a beeline in the price all the way up. And this is how the vast majority, when you hear a cryptocurrency, oh, well, this cryptocurrency is worth $560 million. That's bullshit. That is a bullshit price. That is not real value. That is wash traded up and market making up. That is why when you bozos try to get out of something, you can't, and you get destroyed because it wasn't real in the first place. That's why the collapses are so fast and furious. That's why your Terra Lunas can go from 110 to 0 in hours, because it's not real. If it was real, that would be impossible. If there were real market participants, you couldn't go from 100 to 0 like that. FTT went to 0 overnight because there was no real activity. So when your market makers say, I'm sorry, this is too hot for me to be involved here anymore, I'm out, and they no longer defend your cryptocurrency price, you're going straight to 0. And so in each one of those cases where you saw a token collapse and go almost to 0 overnight, the market maker quit. Let me repeat that. In every single scenario you've seen where a cryptocurrency went from 100 to 0 or whatever, $30, $40 to 0, like overnight, in a heartbeat, the market maker firms quit. That's what happened. When you lose your market making firms because they don't want to get sued, when you lose your market making firms because they don't want to go to jail, if they realize, they quit on you and you have no more support for your price. And it saddens me that I've got to sit here and defend why Bitcoin is different and why everything else is this bullshit. It saddens me that some of your family's future is being ruined on this BS, that your future is being taken away from you on this BS. And it is only a matter of time. It is not if, it is a matter of time. But Oliver, this is what I hear. There's that but again. But Oliver, but this and but that and but the utility and but the use case. Bullshit. That's all paid for. There is no utility. They have tricked you to believing that buying hamburgers for fractions of a second faster is some utility, some use case. I get this all the time. But Oliver, Bitcoin's transaction speed is slow. But you can't be that dense, are you? Do you think that that's what the world needs? You think that the world right now needs you to spend faster? That's it. That's what this innovation's about. That's what this freedom movement's about. That I can go broke faster because I can spend what I make faster. You can spend what you make faster than me. That's it. Who sold you that BS? That fast transaction speeds matter. We already have fast transaction speeds. I can go in any supermarket in the world and be out, be at the cash register and be out in seconds. What are you talking about? Who tricked you into believing that's what is the innovation? And besides, Bitcoin's transaction speeds are the fastest in the world on Lightning anyway. But there is no utility. Most of these things are just databases that are slapped. The title of decentralized protocol is slapped on a freaking database. Marketing team is put in place. They're paid very well. A market making firm or two is paid very well. And wash trading starts doing their thing. Not a single alternative is finished with anything. They're all freaking promises. They're all fake volume and fake valuation. That's why the Bitcoin dominance number is bullshit. Oh, well, Bitcoin, Oliver, is losing its dominance. You bought that line. You buy that BS. Guys, I am telling you, this is nothing more than the penny stock world brought to this space. This is not new. This is the freaking blueprint that has been done for decade after decade after decade. There's nothing new here. And this is one of the reasons why your regulators have problems, because they know this. They're not dumb. They know this. So anyway, that's the discussion I wanted to have with you on price. Now, let me see if you guys have any questions, because most of you don't. Most of you never give me any questions here. Oliver, you just blew my mind again. Well, I'm very glad. I don't know on what part, but I like to blow minds. What's wrong with that? Just like the pandemic. Yep. Got to go, but wish I could stay. Loving the monologue. Lightning Larry, yes, I will. Don't worry, man. You'll catch the recording. And I might have to do, guys, I'm going to have to do part 2, another session. So we'll continue this, because I'm going to have to leave with price. But I do want to come up with time, because, whoa, is this time thing so pretty amazing here. I just Pew rules, share speed. I was just trying to figure out, everyone keeps telling me how to share an image here. But anyway, guys, I did post 2 images. And the last thing I want to say about price is regarding the hash rate image that you see that I posted there. And what I'm looking for is, someone sent me instructions on how to share the image here. Limitless and cryptocurrency. That's what I call them, limitless. Craptos. Odin is asking, what is your perspective on a monthly basis? Look at the EMA 21 versus the MA 50 cross for BTC. I don't look at it like that. I look at cycles, and that's what I really want to go to when we cover time. Now, remember that image that I posted, which is the clock. The clock represents time, right? So on the image that I showed you initially, not the root image, which I showed you secondarily on the announcement to this live spaces, but initially it put the 12 o'clock point. It made the halving the 12 o'clock point on a clock, so that you can see that from 12 to 12 completes one 4-year cycle. So every cycle in Bitcoin is 4 years, right? So there's something. So 12 o'clock starts the cycle. The halving starts the cycle. That's why I sort of like that rendition of it, where the halving is at the 12 o'clock spot. All right. And there is something quite miraculous that happens at each major turning point in the cycle. So 4 p.m. on that 12 o'clock cycle, 6 p.m., 9 p.m., and things of that nature. And so if you look carefully, almost every single one of Bitcoin's bottoms happen around the same point on the clock. And each one of Bitcoin's ultimate tops before it goes into a bear market happens around the same time on the clock. And so when you look at this, guys, you start to realize everything else is bullshit. Like, it didn't matter that the Fed started raising interest rates. The Bitcoin bottomed right around the same time on the clock. It didn't matter what was going on, the China ban, the this, the that. It topped out around the same time on the clock like it always does. Your narratives are bullshit. Yeah, but Oliver, what about the recession? It doesn't matter. Look at the freaking clock. Bitcoin is math. Math doesn't know raising interest rates, doesn't know anything about raising interest rates, doesn't care. Math doesn't care or know Jerome Powell. Math doesn't know your recession. Math doesn't know your opinions, your views, your price projections. 1 + 1 = 2, no matter where you go, no matter how old you are, and no matter what story you have to propagate right now. It's still 2. 1 + 1 is 2. And if you look at the clock and you see, oh my God, the bottoms all happen around the same freaking time. What is that? Guys, pull that spiral up. Go to it right now. Check this out. Check out this spiral. How crazy is that? You can go to either one. So go to the one I posted. Go to the one I posted. Oh, I think I know how to do this now. I think I know how to do this. Uh-oh. Hmm. Wait, let me see. Do I know how to do this? Share. And I should see the share live. Nah. One more time here. Trying this. Nope. I promise you I will get this. I promise you I'll get this. But go to when I announced this. Go to this. If you can go there where I announced this, and you'll see the rational roots. You'll see the rational roots spiral. He's the creator of this spiral or time cycle, spiral, 4-year cycle thingy, right? And I want you to, if you look very carefully, right? Look very carefully, blow it up if you can. I want you to look on the right-hand side at around, his time is different from the other one. So his right before 3 o'clock. So if the top of the circle is 12, right before 3 o'clock, you'll see where it's green. And right before 3 o'clock, you'll see these dots. Someone type and let me know, Oliver, I see it. Okay. Somebody do that for me if you can. I see the green dots. So the green dots right before 3 o'clock, look at how they're all around 3 o'clock. Like, it doesn't matter what's going on, the China ban, it doesn't matter what's going on. The SEC is suing cryptocurrency firms, this and the Fed is raising interest rates, it doesn't matter. Do you understand? It doesn't matter. It tops out around 3 o'clock on this spiral almost every single cycle. Now, if you go to 6 o'clock, now go down to 6 o'clock, look at the bottoms. Look at how the bottoms are all near 6 o'clock in the bear market. It doesn't matter what Jerome Powell's doing. It doesn't matter what the SEC is doing. It doesn't matter what FTX collapse, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter recession. We bottom freaking at the same time, more or less, every single cycle. Why? Bitcoin's math. Math doesn't know your narratives. Do you understand this? All right? I hope you understand this. All right. We have the spiral. Good. So the dots on the red line up. The dots on the green line up. Now, look at where we are. Look at where we are. See where the halving is? See where the halving is? However you say that. Having, halving, I don't know. These are all correct. But so look at the line that we haven't completed yet. We're on this cycle. Do you understand? And so when we reach, I want you to look at where the halving line is. That's at around 10 o'clock, right? So on this spiral clock, you're around 10 o'clock is when the halving happens. Now, look at where the spiral starts turning dark green. On this spiral, it starts turning dark green at 12 o'clock. So Rational Root put 12 o'clock as that's your bull market. That's your bull market meteoric face melting phase. It's at 12 o'clock. Now notice that's months after the halving. Just like I told you, when you do something major like raise interest rates, or you do something like cut the supply in half, and Bitcoin's issuance rate, it takes 6 to 8 months before that effect hits the market. That 12 o'clock phase on the white spiral that I posted for you, that's 6 to 8 months later. So I am telling you, when I tell you our time is limited, I am telling you because I understand Bitcoin cycle. Guys, we have about from now a year. You got a year more. Now, some people say, well, Oliver, that's a long time. No, it's not. Not to change your life, it is. You can use this year to change your life, to do what you need to do to get what you need to have before 12 o'clock, guys. 12 o'clock is around this time next year. Now, here's why you should not time that. Don't time 12 o'clock and say, oh, no, I'll start before 12. No. The more, in my opinion, the more you can accumulate. The longer you have, the more you can accumulate, and the more life-changing it will be. Imagine if you could change your whole life by what you do in 1 year, and your life will never be the same. I believe that's the opportunity we're coming into. And why do I believe that this opportunity is going to be bigger than any other opportunity in Bitcoin's past? Why do I believe this? Because it's the first freaking time that we have declining supply on exchanges. Guys, all of the other rallies throughout all of Bitcoin's life was during rising supply. Isn't it basic supply and demand economics 101 that the less the supply, the bigger the price move? Well, I'm telling you why I believe that Bitcoin starts moving like it has never moved before in price. I believe it's going to make the last 10 years look like child's play because it is now in declining supply mode. And it's going, in my opinion, to outprice you. It's going to leave you behind. It is going to turn you into a Bitcoin hater for life because you missed it. And because you had the ability to buy this under 100,000, under 30,000, under 25,000, under 20,000, you had the opportunity. And because you had the opportunity there, you can't possibly buy it now at 300,000. This is what keeps you locked out, and it will turn you into a hater. It will turn you into someone bitter for the rest of your life. That is my belief. I do not wish that on you. Someone was saying the other day, no, someone was saying today, was insinuating that I sit on here and talk to you and answer many of your questions. I'm not going to say stupid questions, but some of them are really dumb. Wow. Guys, I have never been to the depths of low the land of low IQ like I have in recent months here. Because, I was never really active on Twitter. But wow. But on the opposite end, I've also been exposed to some high levels of intelligence, like intelligence that blows my mind. So, everything has its trade-offs. But wow, some of you guys are freaking weird. Whew. Anyway, I digress. Someone was insinuating that I do this. If I really believe this, why don't I just shut up and accumulate and keep it quiet, keep it secret? What they don't understand, first of all, that person obviously knows nothing about me, because this is what I've always done. I've always brought my traders along. I brought my traders along in Apple in 1997, 1998. I brought my traders along with me in Amazon when I was pounding the table. This is the future. This is the future. And I had to fight and struggle to convince them. But Oliver, it's just a freaking bookstore. I'm like, you don't understand. I would try to beg them. Guys, you don't understand. It's not just an online bookstore. And I like to go to Barnes and Noble. My traders used to say, it's like to go to Barnes and I'm like, no, you don't get it. I used to tell them, do you understand that how many times have you gone to Barnes and Noble or gone to a bookstore and they didn't have the book? Amazon can always have the book because they don't have shelves. Their shelves are digital. So a digital shelf is limitless. A Barnes and Noble bookstore shelf is limited. So they have to choose what to reject and what to accept. Amazon doesn't need to reject anything. It can take every single book in the world and not run out of shelf space. You're not getting this. I used to try to beg them, guys, you're missing out on this because Amazon is only using the book space as a testing ground. Their goal is not to take over the bookstore world. Their goal is to take over the whole world. They're just using books as a proof of concept. And when it's successful, they're going to take it from books to everything else on planet Earth. And so I did manage to convince some. Some have retired off of the Amazon Play. To this very day, I get Christmas cards every single year from their families thanking me that their lives were completely changed because I got them at Amazon at $1 and $2 a price. That's split adjusted, of course. Then it was the gold play. 2005, guys, gold is the play. Gold is the play. Oliver, it's a dead rock. That's what I say now. But back then, no. No, listen, for the first time, America is getting its first gold ETF. We have to be in, guys. Oliver, it's a rock, man. We can beat this performance in gold with our eyes closed. What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind, Oliver? Gold? Really? Yes. Do you understand the power of an ETF? Dude, we got to get in. We got to get in. January 2005, I convinced some of them, not all of them. We piled into GLD, the first US gold ETF. Look at the freaking chart. January 2005, it went on an 8-year tear with only the briefest of pullbacks. Wow. This story goes on and on and on. So this person doesn't know I've been doing this my whole career with my traders. I brought 7,000 traders with me on this Bitcoin journey. March 12th and March 13th of 2020. If you don't believe me, if anybody here says, Oliver, I don't believe you. I don't believe your timing was that perfect. I dare you. If anyone dares challenge me, I will post it. I will do it. I will post it. I'm not above showing you something and saying, I told you, I told you I will do that a million times, and I will never let you forget about it. Yes, I'm petty like that. I am not above that. So if anybody here says, Oliver, I don't believe you timed the bottom like that, I will post it. Just say it. Anyway, I brought 7,000 traders with me. We got Bitcoin as low as 3,800. Our orders were hit at 3,800. Bitcoin went to 69. Crazy. And here I am pounding the table again. I was pounding the table at 15. I was begging you guys. I was begging you. I'm saying, look, listen to me. Listen to my logic here. Bitcoin is an 80 vol asset. This is what I explained to you at 15, 16,000. I said, guys, look, Bitcoin's an 80 vol asset. That means its average decline over its past history is 80%. We're down 78%. This is not the time to short. This is not the time to believe these bozos calling for a Bitcoin 10,000, a Bitcoin 9,000, 8,000, a Bitcoin. I heard a Bitcoin 3,000, and I heard a Bitcoin 1,000 when Bitcoin was at 15, 16,000. I'm like, we're down 78%, guys, 78% on an 80 vol asset, an asset whose average decline during its bear moves 80%. We need to pile in. I did it right here. You don't believe me? Go search my timeline here on Twitter, here on X, and find November, December 2022. I went as far as even showing you me buying tens of Bitcoin at a time right here on this feed. And you guys still didn't believe me. I am continue. We're still in the beginning of the 3-year up, 1 year down, 3-year up. You guys still calling for Bitcoin 10,000. You're still listening to these bozos out here who have absolutely zero experience as a market participant, as a market player. You're still believing and betting on people that have fanciful ideas that have never happened in history before, instead of just going with what has already happened. I get it in my industry all the time. I'm constantly beating traders over the head. Why fight the trend? What are you doing? This has been the trend for 14 years. Why are you fighting it and calling for something that has never happened in 14 years? Why are you doing that? Why are you trying to bet now? 1 + 1 has always equaled 2. Why are you betting that now, all of a sudden, out of the blue, 1 + 1 is going to equal 5? Like, what? How is that intelligent? How is fighting the power intelligent? How is fighting history intelligent? How is fighting the trend intelligent? How is fighting what has happened every single time to the T? How is intelligent is it to bet your life on what has never happened? It isn't intelligent. And so all I get from you are buts. But what about this, Oliver? But Oliver, and that's how you all sound too. But Oliver, what about this, Oliver? Oliver, what about that? And this too. And let's throw in this too, Oliver. What about this? Someone said, Oliver, why do you do this? Because it's lonely at the top. I don't want to be up there alone, guys. Come on. I want to toast with some people up there. I want to go out to dinners and talk about how we got it right. It's lonely at the top. Come on, join me. All right, guys, I digress here. I'm gonna go now. But let me see if you have any questions. Yeah, we have the spiral. Do you think there are any other legit cryptos? No, zero. They're all phony. They're all fake. They're all centralized control, and they're all VC funded. Every single cryptocurrency that you mentioned today is VC funded. I know these guys. I've lived with them for 4 decades. These are the same guys that did the same thing in the online gambling space. The same people, the same groups, guys. I'm telling you, they're all the same players. They pumped and dumped the online gaming industry until the regulators shut it down. They pump and dump over and over again the same blueprint with just a different theme. Now, the same people that did the online gambling pump and dump schemes, they're now doing it in the crypto space. The same organizations, the same firms, the same money behind it all. And they're all VC funded, and they're all designed. The VCs don't buy, by the way, they get. Do you understand? So they don't buy anything. They get coins. And so then the machine they put in place to pump the price, the market maker, the wash trading, and the media in their back pockets to get you to come in so that they can exit. They didn't buy the coins they got issued the coins. If they bought it, it would be more honest. They get issued the coins. You buy from them. They get issued before a single trade takes place. They get issued, that's called a pre-mine. They get pre-mined coins. They never had to take a risk. They never had to put real money up. You put the money up, and when you start coming in at mass, they exit their free issuance. They exit on you. And when the vast majority of their money is out, that's when the death spiral begins. That is why there's been 40,000 plus shitcoins. What's the success rate? 0. If those odds don't make you question, then I don't think that you can be saved. It's just going to have to take you and your whole family being wiped out. 100% failure rate. Not a single thing is complete. Not a single project is finished. Not a single product is done. Why? Because they can't be done. They have to keep a narrative going to keep you putting your family's money in. If they stop narratives, if they stop saying, this is coming up next, and wait for this life-changing thing, and then we're going to add this color light. You've never seen this color before. Watch the color we add to our contraption now, and then it's going to become this fraction of a second faster. And they always have to keep a theme coming until all of the money is out. And when the big money is gone, they don't give a hoot about you. That's when the death spiral begins. And let me tell you, there's been 40,000, almost 50,000 of these things. And where's 90% of them? 0. Over 90% are 0 or close to it. And anything out there with a valuation is fake. And yes, that includes Ethereum too. Ethereum Foundation is the biggest market maker, defending their price and then dumping on you at the top. Guys, it's sad to see you fall for this. It's sad. All right. Can you paint us a picture on how supply shock will look like? All right, I can do that. Supply shock, guys. I have played markets. I've played futures markets where there's something called limit up. Most of you may not be familiar with this. Some of you might. Limit up. So every centralized control marketplace has a maximum amount they will allow a market to shoot up or down. So even the NASDAQ, even the New York Stock Exchange has these circuit breakers, right? Where if you go up by 1% or more or so, or whatever percentage it is at this point. If you go up too fast, too suddenly, the circuit breaker hits and there's a 15-minute halt in all activity. It's a circuit breaker, right? And they have these circuit breakers on the downside. So in the futures market, there's something called limit up. So limit up means if, for instance, you take a commodity like nickel might have a limit up of 3,000 points a day. I'm just throwing out numbers, right, as an example. So it might have a limit up of 3,000 points a day, up or down. So if nickel rallies 3,000, they stop trading in the nickel market for the entire day until tomorrow. This often has the effect of cooling that flurry down. If the next day you open the nickel market and it instantly goes limit up, meaning not a single trade takes place, from the time you ring the bell, ding, 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 boom, it's up 3,000 points and no one got a trade in. Why? Because no one's willing to sell. If no one's willing to sell you their nickel, every day the market's going to open up 3,000 at the limit and not a single transaction will go off. I have lived markets where a market has run limit up, limit up, limit up for 2 weeks without a single trade going off because no one's willing to step in front of that buy train. No one's willing to sell. No one's willing to short. And they step away and it just goes limit up, limit up, limit up, limit up, limit up. Well, listen to me carefully. Bitcoin doesn't have circuit breakers. Bitcoin is not centralized. Bitcoin is not controlled by any human being on planet Earth. Bitcoin cannot be stopped. It cannot be halted. It cannot be cooled down. So I am telling you, by removing all of this supply off exchanges, you are setting yourself up for the supply crunch of a lifetime where they're in a market that has no limit up. And when no one is willing to sell, and that point will come. I'm in my opinion, that point's coming. The supply is disappearing. When no one's willing to sell, you're going to see Bitcoin, if I'm right, go up hundreds of thousands per day, not 2,000. What did it went up 1,500 today? 1,500? No, you're going to see $100,000 bars. Because you can't stop it. And if you and I refuse to sell, it's going to explode. The demand is going to explode the price to if the next seller is at 300, if all of a sudden something happened that caused everyone that was willing to sell to pull their sell orders at 26,000. Anyone who was willing to sell at 30,000, 28, whatever, they all pull. And then the only sell price that exists in the market is at 300,000. You could literally go from 26,000 to 300 in an instant if someone's willing to hit that offer at 300,000. It's all about supply and demand. So if the demand is the hot butter knife, so there's butter, there's warm butter, and then there's the hot butter knife. Sometimes the buyers have the hot butter knife and the sellers are the warmed up butter, and sometimes it's inverse. So when the buyers have the hot butter knife and the sellers are the hot butter, the buyers sear through the sellers like a hot knife in butter easily. When you remove the butter, meaning that not only is there weak supply in comparison to the demand, there is no supply. Oh my goodness. Now you have a market that has no circuit breakers. You have a market that cannot be stopped, that can go on a frenzy for months on end. with no end in sight because the supply is gone. I pound the table this very day because if that kicks off and you're left behind, there's no catching that. There's no coming back from that. There's no getting a second chance. The world is underestimating absolute scarcity. I've seen false scarcity. So when a centralized exchange puts a 3,000 point circuit breaker, that's creating false scarcity. This is provable, mathematical, truly absolute scarce. No, everyone's underestimating absolute scarcity, and almost everyone's underestimating a market that can't be controlled by any human being on earth. It's not going to stop because no one can stop it. And so try to take, I hope that some of you, if there's this one person who takes my words seriously enough just to look, just to lift the curtain and just look, do a deeper investigation, you're going to find this is crazy. All right. Amazing discussion, Oliver. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you. Thank you for I appreciate your appreciation. All right, cool. Somebody shared it with me. Awesome. Thank you, Alejandro Rodriguez, for sharing that. Can I teach you how to do this? Do your own multi-sig. Now, I would love to do that. I just think it would be unfair because I do have a group of Bitcoiners, guys. Unfortunately, no one here can join. But I do have a group of Bitcoiners that I work with for 6 months. And the goal is to make them the top level the best Bitcoiner that you can possibly be. But we do multi-sig, single sig. We get into building and putting together our own node, even Bitcoin mining for those who want to do it. And it's very special. And I just think it would be a little unfair for me to do that openly, but I will tell you the multi-sig solutions that I really love. Unchained Capital, I know you just said that, this person just said that without that, Unchained Capital, the collaborative multi-sigs are great in my opinion, but they're all unchained. Noonchuck is a really powerhouse that's coming on the scene as well. I know some of you have always mentioned Casa. I've cooled off on them just because of their instituting the shitcoin Ethereum, but if you're looking to do multi-sig all alone and you're not looking to do collaborative, I would actually recommend, first of all, that you get your own node. So make sure you're running your own node, and you want to use Spectre. So Spectre and your own node is, to me, the more superior way of doing your own multi-sig. And I believe you can do your own multi-sig through Noonchuck, if I'm not mistaken. But okay, anyway, enough of that. Is BTC infinitely divisible? Well, of course it is. It's math. That's like asking, is math infinitely divisible? Yes. You can always cut in half forever to infinity. So Bitcoin is infinitely divisible. If yes, then how different than inflating fiat? MPC. That's not a joke, is it? All right, let me just try to explain, just in case that question is not a joke, but I don't want to make fun of your question here. But so the question is, fiat currency inflates. So if BTC is infinitely divisible, isn't that the same as inflating the supply like fiat? No. So think of it this way. If you have a pizza pie that is cut into 8 slices, all right, and then later cut into 12 slices, have you increased the supply of pizza, or have you just divided the same supply? So there is no rise or increase in the pizza from 8 slices to 12. I'm just slicing the same pizza differently. So no, dividing does not add inflation. The same way dividing a pizza into more slices does not add to the pizza. All right, let me see what else here. Fintech is just lipstick on the underlying pink. I like it. It's a fancy GUI on 50-year tech. I like that. That's very true, young man. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, listen, you're the best. I'm going to go now. I don't know if I have to circle back and do something that I missed, but I'm going to assume no, and just see if I can spontaneously do another one of these things when something important comes up. All right. But listen, thanks for everyone for joining. Thanks for your time. Anytime, obviously, I don't make the mistake anymore of not recording. So these sessions are recorded. I actually encourage many of you to try to listen to parts, if not all of it again, if you will, because a lot of things we talk about are deeper than what can really be gone over here. So if you can take those concepts and do your own research on these things we've spoken about, I think your understanding of Bitcoin will season. I'm still learning. By no stretch of the imagination do I believe that I'm some expert on Bitcoin. I have just put a lot of hours into trying my best to understand this asset. It continues to open up to me like a blossoming flower, in my opinion, almost every single week, almost every single month. It's almost like peeling back an onion. The layers just keep being revealed and revealed and revealed. And I actually love that about Bitcoin, that it's a never ending, very, very vast and deep rabbit hole. And it excites me to no end. My name is Oliver Velez, and I am your 13%er Bitcoiner. Be safe out there, and until next time. Boom!